If I give you one message to hold in your hearts today, it's this: never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit, you'll want to go home. Just never quit. I've seen so many brilliant people. They gave up in life. They were totally brilliant. They were top of their class. They were the best students. They were the best of everything. They gave up. I've seen others who really didn't have that talent or that ability, and they're among the most successful people today in the world because they never quit and they never gave up. So just remember that. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. So thank you very much. On Saturday, we have a tremendous rally, and I hope you're all going to be there. It's in Wildwood, New Jersey, where there's going to be a big crowd, and we're going to be saying a lot. We'll be able to campaign on Saturday. And nevertheless, we have a horrible gag order that shouldn't be allowed. It's never been on. Nothing like this has ever happened. What you're witnessing is a first. I have some articles that came out this morning. Jonathan Turley, the predominant question in the Manhattan hush money trial of former President Donald Trump is not one of guilt, but something far more basic. Is the District Attorney Alvin Bragg's case a joke? Is it a prank? Is it a farce? On Thursday, the answers became clear. It's all of the above, but it's also an abominable abuse of our justice system and a wretched assault on the rule of law. It's Jonathan Turley, and it just goes on and finishes, although it's a long story that's brutal about this case. This case is highly unconstitutional. It's presided over by a very conflicted judge, conflicted like I've never seen before. He refuses to take himself off the case, and it should be a mistrial. Their objective, of course, was to humiliate and smear Trump with a gossipy tale of sex that had nothing to do with the criminal charges at issue. Had nothing to do with it. Everything you've been watching has nothing to do with the case. They know that. It was a sophomoric gamble, and it has backfired spectacularly. Miranda Devine, we've heard it all before. Dems already wheeled out the scandal of 2016, and it didn't work then. Why would it work now, 8 years later? And why now, 6 months before the election? In other words, why are they bringing this case right before the election? You know, and so do I, because they're dishonest thugs. Nobody in their right mind thinks that this is what New York is, that they scare prosecutorial resources, and that they have scarce prosecutorial resources and should be spent when people are languishing in jails all over the city. DA Alvin Bragg should be spending his time prosecuting cop bashers and Jew-hating agitators. The message Democrats are inadvertently sending in voting public is that this guy is so strong that we have to cheat to beat him. Well, they are cheating to beat me. This is cheating. This is election interference. Kerry Urban, she says, not going well for the prosecution. Highly respected young lady. Not going well for the prosecution. But when you have a rigged judge, things can go well. So story after story, these are all stories that just came out. These are all stories that are 100% that this is a disgraceful trial. And I'll be going over them with you later. How the left tried to do things to hurt Trump. I'm just going to say do things because I can't read certain words I'm not allowed to read. If I use the words, this guy wants to put me in jail. He's corrupt. Alan Dershowitz. Trump trial will go down in history as a stupendous legal catastrophe. That's the great Alan Dershowitz. Now, I'm not a friend of Alan Dershowitz. I don't know him well, but this is what he writes. This is what everyone's writing. And this is a case that should have never started. Byron York writes a fantastic article, but I have to read it very carefully because if I put one wrong word in, they want to put me in jail. Donald Trump just had an incredible legal week. Well, I didn't really because the judge is highly political and he's corrupt. And he's also conflicted at a level that nobody's ever been before that I've seen. Here's Politico. Trump's political fate likely won't be decided by the courts after because they think the case is so bad. But again, when you have a rigged judge, bad things can happen. Very bad things can happen. Playbook House. I'm trying to edit this very quickly in front of you because if I mention the wrong word, they'll come out here and they'll take me out to a jail someplace because that's the way it is with this judge. He wants to show how tough he is. So this is story after story. I'll give you some more later on. They don't like it when I talk during the day because they'd rather not have me talk at all. They think they're going to get away with this. If this country allows them to get away with this gag order, and the way the case is being handled, like what they're doing yesterday was incredible. It was incredible. What they did, this trial was so horrible. It's no longer justice, and it's a tremendous abuse of the New York judicial system in particular. The New York judicial system has been absolutely abused and abused terribly, and it's the whole world is watching. It's very bad. So I'll now go and sit in that freezing cold courtroom for 8 or 9 hours and think about being on the campaign. But I'll be on the campaign on Saturday at 5 o'clock in Wildwood, New Jersey. Thank you very much.
Sir, you're calling for a debate with President Trump. You have an open letter to him. I'll let you explain it.
We're both speaking at the Libertarian Convention in Washington, D.C. on May 24th and 25th. I've invited President Trump to debate. He's repeatedly said that he is willing to debate anytime, any place. He said that he specifically would debate me as long as my poll numbers are up.
You sure you want to debate Donald Trump? I mean, there are stages littered with political careers everywhere in the aftermath of people wanting to debate Donald Trump. The guy's a master debater without a question. You up for that? You ready for that?
I don't underestimate President Trump, but I think I'm uniquely able to confront him on issues that nobody has confronted him on. He has now been 4 years in the presidency, and I want to talk to him about his record. I want to talk to him about why he locked down 3.3 million businesses, shifted $4 trillion in wealth from the American workers and the middle class to this new oligarchy
I would love to see
billionaires.
That debate. Now, I would love to see this debate.
RFK Jr. is a Democrat plant, a radical left liberal who's been put in place in order to help crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, get reelected. A lot of people think that Jr. is a conservative. He's not. He's more liberal than anybody running on the Democrat side. A vote for Jr. would essentially be a wasted protest vote that could swing either way, but would only swing against the Democrats if Republicans knew the true story about him. Jr. is totally anti-gun, an extreme environmentalist who makes the Green New scammers look very conservative by comparison. A big-time taxer, he wants to tax you. An open border advocate. He wants those borders to be wide open for more people to come in from prisons and mental institutions. And he's anti-military and he's anti-vet. He's an extreme liberal. He's radical left, and radicalized also are his family. They'll never allow him to be a Republican. They've said that we will not let him be a Republican. And his chief funder is the VP candidate that nobody ever heard of except her ex-husband, who's been stripped of a big chunk of his cash, and he knows exactly what she's all about. She's even more liberal than RFK Jr. She puts herself down as a businesswoman or maybe a doctor, and actually she probably is because she did a hell of a big number on the husband. That's her business. I guess you could say that she's right, however, because what she's done is given a lot of money to the Democrat causes and the ultra-liberal causes. She's going to be a big hindrance because when people saw that she was selected, they realized that Junior was indeed a radical left. She's more liberal than Junior by far, not a serious person, and only a pot of cash to help her get her no-chance candidate on the ballot is what got her there in the first place. I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make environmental moves that were outright nasty and really bad for the state. We have the highest energy costs anywhere in the country, and that's because of RFK Jr. He was a disaster. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over that part of the country, and frankly, it's affected New England, it's affected everybody. But all of this was the policy of RFK Jr. He doesn't want any drilling whatsoever. He doesn't want anything. He wants everything to come to a halt, and you'd find that out. But the fact is, he is a radical left person. So Republicans, get it out of your mind that you're going to vote for this guy because he's conservative. He's not. And by the way, he said the other night that vaccines are fine. He said it on a show, a television show, that vaccines are fine. He's all for them. And that's what he said. And for those of you that want to vote because you think he's an anti-vaxxer, he's not really an anti-vaxxer. That's only his political moment. He said it the other night. He's okay with the vaccine. Their energy costs are the highest in the United States, in New York State and New England, because of this guy, with the exception of California and Gavin Newsom, who's the worst governor in the state's history and one of the worst governors in the history of our country. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last about a year or two longer than it would with Jr. It would collapse almost immediately, and his family, a radical left, a crazy left, a bunch of lunatics, would take over, and our country will die very quickly. So RFK's views on vaccines are fake, as is everything else about his candidacy. He is not a Republican, so don't think you're going to vote for him and feel good. He's a radical left Democrat. Let the Democrats have RFK Jr. They deserve him.
You're calling for a debate with President Trump. You have an open letter to him. I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, we're both, Eric, thanks for having me, first of all. We're both speaking at the Libertarian Convention in Washington, D.C. on May 24th and 25th. I've invited President Trump to debate. He's repeatedly said that he is willing to debate anytime, any place. He said that he specifically would debate me as long as my poll numbers are up. My numbers now in the latest Quinnipiac poll and CNN poll exceed the 15% threshold. We also have just done the biggest poll of the campaign. Typical polls, Eric, are around 22,000 people, 1,200 to 2,000 people. Our poll was 26,000 people. It costs almost $200,000. The value of this poll, other people would charge $500,000 for it. It is so large that it has virtually a zero margin of error. And that poll shows, we did head-to-head races, and that poll shows that in a head-to-head race, I beat President Trump narrowly, and that I beat President Biden in a landslide. That the poll also shows that whether I'm in the race or I'm out of the race, President Biden cannot win the race. And in fact, President Trump wins 2 extra states if Maryland or Virginia and Maine, if I drop out of the race. But the poll shows me that the first time in history in head-to-head races, a third-party candidate beating the candidates of both political parties. And that's unprecedented.
Here you are, and you put this open letter out. Have you heard back from the Trump campaign?
We have not heard from him yet, but we hope to hear from him, and I hope to see him at the Libertarian Convention. The other news that we have is we got on the ballot in the state of Delaware. So we now have sufficient signatures for 11 states. We're getting 2 or 3 states a week, and we'll continue doing that until we have all 50. We will be on all 50 by July. And something that, again, has never been done with this many, a million signatures. We're going to get almost 2 million. We're going to get about double what we need to give us a big cushion, because the DNC and the RNC are both trying to throw us off the ballot because they don't want to have this contest. And then, the last piece of news is that we put out 2 days ago, we put the super PAC, Kennedy, the American Values Super PAC, put out a 30-minute video called Who is Bobby Kennedy? It's narrated by Woody Harrelson. It's a very, very powerful video, and it already has 100 million views. Both Facebook and Instagram have been actively censoring the video. They've been removing it from people's platforms, and now they continue. Now we've called their attention and threatened litigation. They've allowed people to actually post it, but they are shadow banning it and slow walking it. So we're looking at our litigation options right now, but over 100 million people have now seen that video.
So I want to get to that in a second. It's a great video, by the way. I've watched it in full. Back to the debate, and we'll get the other. You sure you want to debate Donald Trump? I mean, there are stages littered with political careers everywhere in the aftermath of people wanting to debate Donald Trump. The guy's a master debater without a question. You up for that? You ready for that?
I am, and I agree with you. I think President Trump is arguably, well, he's certainly the best debater in modern political history. I would say since my uncle. My uncle was also a very good debater, and who knows, what would have happened if my uncle had come across Donald Trump. I can't imagine it, but you could argue that he's the best debater since the Lincoln-Douglas debate. He's gone through, as you know, in 2016, he went through 16 opponents and, left them all in mayhem.
Is now calling for Biden to step aside. Are Democrats starting to turn on Biden?
Should Joe Biden run again?
No. Democrats say they want someone other than Biden.
Michigan has thousands of people voting uncommitted.
You're even seeing women and independent voters turning away from Joe Biden.
So raise your hand if you think Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your family.
That's a 9-point Trump advantage with independent voters.
President Biden trailing in 6 out of the 7 swing states.
Steve, how worried should President Biden be?
And I don't see how it's even possible.
Do you think that President Biden is doing a good job with the economy?
No, he's not doing nothing.
Trump made the economy better, and Biden is making it worse. Biden appears to be losing popularity.
President Biden losing support amongst black men.
I'm here to support President Trump. He's done so much for the black community.
And you ain't black.
Latino voters, he is still going to have to work very hard for their support.
Crime, inflation, this is weighing on their opinion of President Biden.
Latinos prefer former President Donald Trump over President Joe Biden.
The bleeding of support among Latino voters.
We once had a president that secured our southern border. We had a president that created a record-breaking economy. We had a president that supported our law enforcement officers. We had a president that created world peace through the Abraham Accords. And most important of all, we had a president that was respected on the world stage. The only thing Joe Biden has that Trump doesn't have is a voter problem.